Hello guys, welcome back to another tutorial on Bugzilla. In this tutorial, we are going to set parameters. Let's go back to the application. So this is what the current home page looks like in Bugzilla when you log in from your ID. I am using my test ID which I created during setting up the Bugzilla. So as you see in this page, it is giving you a message that you are seeing this page because some of the parameters have not been set up. What Bugzilla is asking us to do is asking us to do set up parameters. Those are URL based, cookie path, maintainer, and those are examples of the parameters page. Parameter page is nothing but the global settings which Bugzilla offers. We'll quickly jump to the parameters page. There are two ways to go to the parameters page. One, we can just click here parameters, or you can click on administration and then select parameters. I'm directly clicking on parameters. So this is what the parameters page look like. I'll just quickly go ahead and configure the required details. The first thing is the URL base. This is nothing but the name of the site where the Bugzilla is running. In case if you are running on the FQDN, then you have that URL, and in case if you are accessing with your machine name or say the IP address, so that's something you can enter it here. So I'm entering it my site name here. Just ensure that you're including http:// otherwise it is not going to accept the values. Next is the SSL redirect. This is something a security feature wherein Bugzilla will look for SSL URL. So if the Bugzilla is configured over normal HTTP, you can see my URL is running on HTTP, not on HTTPS. In case if you have got a SSL certificate or you want to configure it over SSL certificate, in that case only we can go ahead and enable it, and whatever is the SSL URL that you can enter it here. So same URL you can enter it here with HTTPS. However, we cannot do this because we don't have HTTPS URL at this moment. I'll cover this into another tutorial wherein I'll show you how to configure Bugzilla over HTTPS. Next is cookie path. So nothing but the name of the application. So we have got set up this over techbasha2021.com, and this is my application name. I'm just entering the same here and click on save changes. So my URL has got updated. Let's go back, click on the home. Okay, so since we got successfully done with our parameters page, whatever basic parameters that Bugzilla was looking for, so those parameters have been set. So this is why you are able to see the dashboard like file bag, search, user preference, and documentation, and a quick search options here. The dashboard will also offer you common queries, open bug assigned to me, open bugs reported by me, bugs reported in last 24 hours, bugs changed in the last 24 hours, and obviously last 7 days. So our required settings are completed. Now we will look after other settings which are there. Let's go back and look at the other settings. General. Here the site maintainer, so basically whoever is going to maintain the Bugzilla, the name of that user or that team we have to enter here. So for example, say Bugzilla encountered an error and the user is trying to something an activity which causes an error. In that case it will give you a message that to contact to the system administrator. So whatever is the user ID that you will enter here, that user ID will be printed to the users screen and the kind of the error. Next is the UTF-8. This is something I would like you to just ignore it. Coming to the shutdown HTML. So this is something like of maintenance mode. So in case if you have any maintenance cycle going on for the Bugzilla or the server where it is hosted, at that time the user should not be able to access the Bugzilla application. So whatever message that you enter here, it will be shown to the users instead of the actual site. Next, go to the announcement HTML. Here it's like something you want to announce to the users. For example, like ensure that everybody updates the bug statuses, or closing the bug, or kind of instruction that you want to publish to the Bugzilla dashboard, that you can enter here. For example, let me try with like please mark the bugs close for this year. Okay, let's go ahead and save the changes. Can you see? So this is a message which is going to be printed at every screen. So if I go to dashboard also, you'll be able to see this message on the top. We are back to the settings page. I'm gonna remove this because I am not going to look for any messages. However, you can enter even an HTML code. For example, you want to make this to be a moving or a blinking or kind of marquee. In that case, you can use your HTML or CSS here also. That will also be an impact. I'll reset the settings because I'm not looking for an announcement HTML. Okay, go back to the administrations now. Administrative policies. First thing is allowing a bug for deletion. So Bugzilla by default will not let you delete any bugs until you come and make the settings to on. If you make it on, then the system will allow a particular bug to be deleted. Allow mail change. So whenever users themselves can update the emails, however in a real-time environment we will not look for allow email change. We will not allow users to change their email address, because if you notice the login itself is the email address. So we will switch it off. However, we will look for the user creation processes, how a username is entered, what should be the first name, last name, email, and the entire user profile. Next is allow user deletion. By default it is off. So once a user is deleted, then Bugzilla is not letting you by default to delete a user. That's by default off, and I would recommend to keep that off, because in an organization, say a particular person has been tagged to multiple bugs and that user is getting deleted, that may cause some kind of issues in your reporting. I'm sure Bugzilla have handled it well. However, it is recommended that you always keep it off, because a user should be deactivated or marked logged in the production environment. On a real-time environment, it should not be allowed to delete a particular user. So the next option is last visit keep days. This option controls how many days Bugzilla will remember when users visit the bugs. So it's nothing but whenever a user is visiting a bug, this is going to be recorded in Bugzilla database. As of now, we are keeping the values at 10, which is default. We are not going to change anything. Let's go to the next setting, that is our user authentication. In this section of the user authentication, we have multiple settings for external integrations. So Bugzilla also offers certain parameters that for integration with the other systems, like environment variables for email and the user authentication, that is user ID. However, we are not going to go through all these settings because these require high level of understanding of the integration. Here in this section, we are not going through each and every options. Let's go ahead for the which we look for. The next is remember login. So this is nothing but how the session cookies are managed, nothing but how it will remember your login. For example, if you log in to say a Chrome browser and the settings are on, if it is on, in that case, it will remember the user. If you close the browser, reopen it and enter the URL, if it is on, it will not ask you mandatorily to log in. It will just give you the dashboard without asking login screen. If you keep it off, in that case, every time that you close the browser window, it will ask you to log in into the Bugzilla. The next is default and default off. In this case, it will ask whether to remember the your session or not. However, the best recommendation is always that you keep it off, so whenever you close the browser and reopen it, it will ask for a mandatory login to Bugzilla. Go to next option. This is require login. In this option, if it is set to on, all the system beyond front page will require login. For example, somebody comes and click on any of the option, even for the documentation or filing a bug or search, all these tables that is required to search, it will give you a login screen. In that case, I would always recommend to keep it on, because we don't want somebody to just hit the URL and be able to see the organization's bug. So this is why we are keeping this require login option as on. Web service email filter. We are not covering this. Email expressions. These are the settings, nothing but you want to restrict users within your organization's email. For example, say in my organization, I want every ID, for example, say I want to restrict at the rate techbasha2021.com. I don't want any user to be able to the domain, for example, public domains, gmail.com, Yahoo or Microsoft, whatever is the email providers today. So those can be restricted if you use those expressions, and you can set that a particular domain should be allowed and no other domains it will accept. Very important option here is the password complexity. In this case, no constraint. If it is turned no constraint, mixed letters is always to use the upper and lower letters. Letter numbers. Password must contain at least one upper and lower case letter and a number. Then letters, numbers, special characters. Password must contain at least one letter, a number, and a special character. These are the nothing but to restrict the users to use a strong password, or you don't want somebody to use a very easy password like 1234 or something. So in that cases you can use this. As of now, I'm not configuring this because I'm using this system for test. It's recommended that you use this kind of settings if you're using the application into a production environment. Then password check on login. So every time when a user is login, is asking if it is set, Bugzilla will check the password meets the currently complexity rules and minimum length requirement when a user is logged into Bugzilla web interface. If it doesn't, user will not be able to log in and receive a message to reset the password. Meaning, for example, today I have got a very simple password, say a test, and or maybe my name or anything, a very simple password which is accepted. The moment you go and change those settings, say I will change to letter numbers and special characters, in that case Bugzilla will go and restrict the users, saying the password policy on the server is not allowing to use this password which is simple. Go ahead and change, make it as a complex password. If you don't want, you can always keep it off. I'm not changing anything here. By default it was on. I'm keeping it on. It is recommended that you keep it on. If you keep it off, the users will have inconvenience wherein they will not be able to log in case of you change any of these parameters. Let's click on save. Our setting got changed. Next is attachments. In this section, the first option is allow attachment display. So here, what Bugzilla is giving you an option to either the users to download the file and view, or directly view in the browser. So for example, say there is an attachment which is an image or which is an PDF document. What happens is the user, when they click on the attachment, instead of downloading, it will open. So this is something similar like when you open any document in Chrome browser or say in your email, it immediately opens. Here, Bugzilla is giving you that kind of security feature that it will not allow the users to open that particular attachment in the browser window. They have to mandatorily download it. That the moment they will click on it, it will download. It's highly recommended that you set the attachment based parameter if you turn this parameter on. However, we are not allowing, so we are keeping it off. Next is attachment base. So here, attachment base is nothing but you're restricting that this is my domain and this is only the users, they will be accessing it, and the bug ID, it says percent bug ID to the URL, we have to append it. This is again, if you enable it, then it is required. If it is not, however, it's recommended that you don't enable it. Next is allow attachment deletion. If you keep it on, the Bugzilla will let the users to delete the attachment. If not, it will not. By default, it's off, and we are not allowing the users attachment. But I would recommend that you can enable it in case if a user have incorrectly or an incorrect attachment attached to the bug and they want to delete it. In that case, they should be able to delete it. So I'm keeping it on. Maximum attachment size. So what happens is every bug which is filed or any attachment which is uploaded to a bug, it will insert into the database into a blob or into a binary. By default, it's taking 1000 KBs. If you want to exceed or remove, probably change the restrictions to maybe say 2 MB, 5 MB, or 10 MB. Accordingly, you can increase or reduce the size from here. The next is max local attachment. So whatever size that you will mention here, it will going to be storing in the file system. I would recommend not to change anything, just simply save it. I'm saving the changes here. Change allow attachment deletion. That is only one parameter we change it. Rest all are same. The next option is bug change policies. So these are the settings or the parameters which is associated to a bug. So for example, if you are marking a bug as duplicate in the system, then what it should do, it will mark that particular bug as resolved. Next is let submitter choose priority. So every bug is being associated with the priority. Say priority 1, priority 2, 3, 4. So this is what the priority is called. You can always add and remove the priority. That flexibility is given in case if you want to choose something else. Those kind of flexibility in Bugzilla is there. You can choose custom fields. We will see all these into our next tutorials. Next option is let submitter choose milestone. So the concept of the milestone is what something like say developers are working into a target mode. There are a lot of bugs that they have picked up or users have reported it. They will keep into a milestone concept. That means, for example, say something, say number 10 number of bugs that they have gathered and they want those to be resolved by next month, or say into a version. So they will decide the next upcoming version. For example, say something is going 1 point something, they will decide that okay, this will be resolved in version 2.0. So this is the concept of the milestone. So when the user is submitting a bug, in that screen itself, they can decide a milestone. Next is must have milestone concept. If you enable this option, in that case, Bugzilla will mandatorily ask you to have a milestone. However, this is not necessary that you enable it. I'm keeping it off. We are not enabling it. Next is comment on change resolution. So this is something related to bug workflow. So you will have something like open, in progress, closed, completed kind of statuses. So wherever a status which is considered to be a closed, for example, say something you're marking as closed, system is considering that closed status as resolved. In that case, Mozilla will force that user to enter a resolution comment if this is enabled. If it is not enabled, it won't. We are enabling it. It looks good to have, so we are keeping it. Next is comment on duplicate. Whenever a bug is marked as duplicate, in that case, it will ask for a mandatory comment. We are doing the same thing here. This should also be enabled. Next is no resolve on open blockers. So it's like dependency. You can create dependency in the bugs that this particular bug is dependent or some other bug. In that case, it will not let the user to mark that close until the dependent bugs are resolved. We are not keeping it on because sometimes it create issues. We are making the changes as safe changes now. So the next option here is bug fields. So this bug fields is related to the bug filing. So nothing but the bug filing form. For example, if you go and click on new, it will give you the form to report a bug. These are the fields, those are related to the bug filing, especially that form. The first option says use classification. If this option is on, Bugzilla will associate each product with a specific classification. The classification is like internal bugs or an external bugs kind of product classification you can do in Bugzilla, and that classification will be used while filing the bug. Next is use target milestone. So this is nothing but that we discussed some time back. If you enable it, then the field for use target milestone will be displayed while finding the bug. Next is use QA contact. In this case, if you enable it, it will give you an option for contacting to your QA team. The name and the email address will be displayed there. Use status whiteboard. Simply, if you enable it, you'll be able to use the status whiteboard. Next is use see also. If you enable this, in that case, you will also be able to see the relevant bugs, basis the keyword that you are entering it for that particular bug. Then default priority. So by default, when somebody is setting uh, marking the bug or creating a bug or editing a bug, so while reporting the bug is something a priority which you can set. For example, you don't want users to allow selection of priority. Whatever users are selecting or reporting the bug, in that case you may want to set it low. You can do that. Next is severity. So priority and severity, these are two different things. Priority meaning like one, two, three, four, five, whatever order you want to ask developers to resolve. In the other case, severity is nothing but how it is impacting the business relationship or something which is very severe, something last moment have come in and some kind of escalation wherein you have to take care. Basis that you can decide the severity. Severities also can be decided basis the uh, kind of issues. For example, some kind of issue, those are blocker. If that is happening, in that case the users will not be able to access the application. For example, say I have an application where people are not able to log in. That is more severe than any other functional bug. In that case, they will mark severity as severity 1 or maybe a critical. You can decide it like this way. Next is default platform. So default platform is nothing but whether it's in hardware, in terms of say a laptop or a desktop or a tablet. Considering those, these are the options are given. This is also customizable. You can add and remove the fields from this. Then default operating system, that is default OPSys. In this case, you can see Windows, Mac, Linux, and other. You can again, this also is configured or configurable. You can change anytime that you want. Collapse comment tags. So whatever you will enter here, for example, say spam, absolute, or something that you don't want comments to be visible. If you put whatever keywords here, those kind of keywords will be ignored, and the comment box will always be collapsed in that case. Let's save this setting. Next is group security. First option, make product groups. In case if it is enabled, in that case Bugzilla will associate a bug group with each product in the database, and it will be using for querying the bugs. Next is chat group. The name of the group users who can use the new chat feature. That is something related to reporting. We will not focus much on this, but still you can use these features if you want. Uh, Basically, you need to select which group that should be allowed. We will see these group permissions later on. Insider group, the name of the group of the users who can see, change private comments and attachments. By default it is not selected. If you want anyone to do that, accordingly you can select those group, and those group must be assigned to those particular users. Time tracking group, the name of the group, the users who can change time tracking information. So what happened is Bugzilla have got very nice information tracking, that is how much uh, hours a particular developer or a team is involved in. So if you keep this option, so whoever is the part of group of this roles, they will be able to edit and add the information. For example, how many hours a particular developer on a bug have been invested. Query share group, the name of the group of users who can share their saved searches and share with others. So in this case, Bugzilla got a very nice feature of saving the queries, not exactly a very technical terms queries. So it likes whenever you search anything in Bugzilla, for example, you want to get a report wherein you want to see how many bugs have been reported by my team, but I can select the name of the people in my team and make those as groups, and then I'll be able to query those you can also mark, save it, and those kind of searches, they will appear bottom to your dashboard on your login page and most of your screens in Bugzilla. And that is something like of bookmarks that we have in any other system. It will bookmark kind of those search results, and that you can search, and whenever you want, the same thing can also be shared with other users. Next is comment taggers group, the name of the group of users who can tag comments. Simply, you can select whatever group if you want where people to tag the comments. Debug group is like who will be able to run the queries meaning some thing in the reports and they want to troubleshoot. There's also maintenance options given in system settings. So whoever is the user, part of admin will be only the admin at this moment, who is our main user, which we set up while setting up the Bugzilla. Later on you can also add those people into admin group, that we will see later. Use visibility groups. You wish to restrict visibility of users member to specific groups. If you do that, those particular group will not be able to see the other user members. Strict isolation. Do not allow users to assign to be QA contacts on added to CCs, remove dependencies involving any bug that is product. So it's like everybody here will not be able to edit a bug. So whenever they will go and search for a bug, in that case they will see a lock icon. However, this is something I will not recommend because in organization many teams have been dependent on other teams, and sometimes somebody wants to see the more bug details and the fields. In that case, Bugzilla will not let those functionalities to be enabled. Here we are not restricting it, we're keeping it on, sorry, off. Or groups, define the visibility of bug which is multiple groups. It's little more advanced. I will keep it same whatever it is. We will see it into some other tutorial. Let's save the changes. After group security, we have LDAP. So LDAP is something that you want to integrate with your LDAP server. Here, more likely you will always see Microsoft Windows LDAP. Maybe sometime you have novel directory also. That is something Bugzilla is supporting. LDAP, which I would recommend to use that like industry, we have a Microsoft Windows Active Directory. So if you have those details with you and you have an environment where we do have Active Directory available, then you can use these setups to integrate LDAP. When you integrate LDAP, in that case, you can integrate with your Active Directory, and when the user are signing on to the Bugzilla, in that case, they can enter email address which is stored inside the your Active Directory and the password of your Active Directory, meaning your Windows password, not exactly local password of your Bugzilla database. So in this case, you will be able to integrate your Windows Active Directory and you will be able to authenticate through your Active Directory username and password. When I say username, the username in Bugzilla is email. I would suggest to continue and configure the mapping accordingly. I'll show the options. Here LDAP start TLS. So if you want to use the LDAP S instead of normal LDAP which runs on port 389, and if it is off, obviously it's using port 389, and in case if you're using the LDAP S, then it goes to 636 port number. If you have the knowledge on LDAP, I don't think it will be difficult for anyone. You'll have to just simply configure these fields and you will be able to get started. One thing very important that I will be here letting you know, for example, here it says the name of the attribute containing the user's login name. So here it says UID. So this in your case probably SAM account name that you can configure. Then LDAP mail attribute. Here it is mail. Whatever is in your Active Directory where you're storing the email. If it is email, you'll have to enter email. If it is mail, you have to enter mail. So simply you can configure your LDAP. Since I don't have an environment running with me on Microsoft Active Directory, so this is the reason I will not be able to demonstrate this. However, you can go ahead and configure it. I'm not covering radius. Next is email. Email something you have to configure in terms of email notifications, because all the security features, for example, say somebody has forget the password and somebody has to do a forget password on the login screen, and they want to receive their password or the email. In that case, this feature is available. At the same time, Bugzilla has got another two more features where email is integrated. The other two features would be your bug edit or bug filing. So when somebody is filing the bug or somebody is editing the bug, in that scenarios, Bugzilla is sending updates to the relative stakeholders. Second is something called whining. Whining is something like automated reports that you can schedule on a particular frequency that we will see into our functional tutorials later on. We are on this option that is mail delivery method. At this time, by default, you can see it is selected at send mail. In your settings, I would always recommend that you can go and send it to none. to avoid any issues, because if somebody is trying to do a forget password or some kind of actions wherein email is going to be triggered, the system will try using send email and unnecessary there will be errors. So I always recommend go and make it as none. So we have two options in Bugzilla for sending, or you can say the integration of email address or integration of email notifications. One is send email, send mail. Send mail is something small software you have to download and install it in your server. You need to configure it and then specify those details to your local config. And then Bugzilla will be able to send email alerts. The next is SMTP. This is very commonly used simple mail transfer protocol that is there in the industry. Normally you configure these options and then Bugzilla will be able to trigger emails. So this is mail from, for example, say you have got a production installation in your company, you can make it something like Bugzilla, your company name, or if you are the owner in your organization, you've got a specific team that you can mention, or you can remove everything and make it just Bugzilla. Nothing but from email, when you have the email, you will see from a particular person name, right? So simply this is something is the identifier for that email from. Use mailer queue. So Bugzilla at a time it's sending a lot of email alerts. So for example, if you edit a particular bug and there are so many stakeholders, many multiple teams are associated to it, in that case it is going to be sending alerts to those stakeholders. At the same time, there will be user concurrency also, wherein multiple users will be doing certain action in the application that will may cause a lot of email alerts to get slow down your server. In that case, you can always keep it on so that it will use the mailer queue, and the relevant configuration you can always verify from your check setup.pl file. Next is SMTP server. You have to mention your mail server provider. For example, if you are using Gmail, you have to say mail.google.com or smtp.mail.google.com. You can always do a Google and find it out your SMTP server in case of Gmail. If not, then if you're using your organization's SMTP server, maybe smtp.xyz.com, or maybe you've got an IP address. So that is something you can always mention here. SMTP username. So your username of your Gmail account or whatever email that you have, and the password of that account. Here, if you are using SSL, you have to keep it on. If not, then you have to keep it off. SMTP debug, if you want to enable it or you want to disable it in case of for log management, you can always, I would recommend to keep it on. Sometime it may give you an issue while you're sent email if you're using it in some kind of warnings, then you have to always keep it off. That depending on the your situation. Then winding days, the number of days that we will let a bug to be untouched in a confirmed state. So this is again a functional thing that we will explore. However, you always leave it default, I will recommend at this point. Global vouchers are like something a system when you want to ensure that that particular user or that particular mailbox should have all the activities happening in Bugzilla. So if you keep those email address here, those email address will be notified with an activity. So whatever is here, Bugzilla, let's say editing of a bug, reporting of a bug, or such kind of activities wherein Bugzilla is triggering email alerts, all these emails will be sent to these watchers. I'm saving the settings. Shadow database. Shadow database is advanced concept of ensuring that your application is always up and it's able to communicate to a database. So you can configure this steps is something required in advanced knowledge, and you should be able to having two databases server running in, and then we'll be able to configure it. We will not go much in detail here. We'll jump on the next option, meme cached. This is something, this integration again, it's integration part, and is going to be a very high level information. I would recommend that you leave it, and if you want to really do it, you can always explore, Google it, and then configure all this information. Coming to user matching, first is user menu for users. So, sorry, use menu for users. So what happens is in Bugzilla, by default, when you go for the user creation screen or a user management section of Bugzilla, there it will give you a text box and an option for, whether it is going to be full matched or partial match, and you can input your string or the text there. You can search. So instead of that, it is giving you an option to directly having a drop down, which I would not recommend to keep it off, because for example, say you may be using into a production environment wherein say there may be thousands of users, maybe hundreds of users. Loading all this information into a drop down is not a right idea. I always recommend that you always keep it off. Then Ajax user auto completion. So whenever you type anything, say three characters and more, automatically the moment you will start searching, I mean typing it, the Bugzilla is going to search in the database and start populating it like automated fields. That will be something like we call it as auto-filled information. So when, for example, if you're doing Google, when you keep typing it, automatically the relevant search populates below. Then next is max user matches. Here something is like when you search for a user, how much records that is going to be displayed on that page. Accordingly you can restrict, and or if you want to don't want to configure it for any limit, you can always make it 0. If you want to make 1, in that case no users will be displayed on ambiguous matches. Then next is confirm unique search matches. So if you want to try this one, if it is on, then whether a confirmation screen should be displayed when only one user matches search entry. However, it doesn't make more differences. I will always keep it default. When you really search and start doing work on hands-on on the Bugzilla, you'll be able to understand this. Saving it. Advanced. Again, those are related to security. Cookie domain. So you can enter your domain though that your cookies are restricted. Inbound proxies, proxy URL if you're using the proxies. Then coming to the very useful feature, which is security feature here, is strict transport security. This is something as like you're enforcing Bugzilla that you want Bugzilla to be operatable only over HTTPS. If you keep it on, however, this is dependent on one option that we did SSL redirect while setting the parameters. So if that is applicable, then only it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. If you want to keep it on this domain only, it will always work on. If you select include subdomains, it will include subdomains. So accordingly, you're using it as of now. I would suggest you always to include subdomains, because it may be possible that on the same site you might be running on a different application too. If you have a dedicated server where Bugzilla is running, then you can always choose this domain only. So we have successfully completed all the parameters and required settings to run Bugzilla. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe my channel Tech Badsha.